Hey, this is your heads up, as we call it, heads up. I go into a rant about brain hacks, and they're horrible, and you'll find out why. A hack, that is. And you'll also find out about grief, how we can reframe grief, how we can loosen the model of your world, how we can change the way you feel about people and things, jobs, retirement, houses, any type of connection you have that you feel a loss for. You can change it in a gentle way, and it'll just work. If that's of interest to you, and I think it should be, because there's always somebody we know who is suffering from grief. Even if we don't know they're suffering from grief, we know somebody is. It'll be good to listen to, so you can share this with them and just be there for them. Selfless service. Anyway, that's it. It's not, by the way, just because we're talking about grief, it is not a down and things like that. Far from it. And I do have a little swear because there's a little bit of emotion in there too. Okay. Have a listen after this.
Warning. 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 You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, we're back together again for another conversation. This one's a different conversation, I think, because it's on a very delicate subject. The subject of grief. And I've called this episode Not a Brain Hack. Not a brain hack for grief. Why not? Because I hate the blooming term brain hacks. I think they're nothing more than cheap clickbait. And it's for people who really want to just get rich quick, or just do something with no effort. They want something that is that quick. They don't have to do anything. And the whole point of any of this self-development work is you have to do something. Yeah, with hypnosis, it helps to move things quicker. NLP moves things quicker, but you still have to be there. You still have to, it's a do with, not a do to. You still have to work with the voice, as it were. You have to follow the instructions. You have to do everything. And then you have to check and to test, and then you have to try your best to do even better. And I thought, this bloody thing called brain hacks. And you hear it everywhere, don't you? And every blooming podcast, oh, we've got a brain hack for this. YouTube has got them plastered everywhere. And I thought to myself, I know I don't like it, but there's a reason I don't like it. And I wanted to find out what the real definition was, because maybe I was completely wrong. Cloughy, you admit you were wrong? Well, I'm wrong a lot of the times, but I looked at the definition. And the definition of a hack: to cut, to sever with repeated, irregular or unskillful blows. So do you want a brain hack, a hack that goes into your brain, which is severing with repeated, irregular and unskillful blows? I don't think so. Or there's another one: to cut and shape with crude, ruthless strokes. Crying out loud. If you want brain hacks, that thing, it is, to me, and your brain gets it. But I also think, as I say, it's a term that people try to use for clickbait, trying to tell you the secret, the one step that does everything. And I'm sure there is a one step that does everything. I've got a process I'm working on that I believe is a really good silver bullet. I probably won't work with everyone, but it probably will. In my mind, it will. But there's also another one that goes social hacking: to gain access to restricted info without permission. Without permission. Bloody hell. So there you go. That's why this is not a brain hack. That's my little rant over about brain hacks, by the way. You may not agree. You may like the brain hack. Oh dear, imagine that squish and everyone gets splattered. With those repeated, irregular or unskillful blows. Crude and ruthless strokes. Yeah, right. Anyway, so what are we talking about? Well, I wanted to have a conversation about grief, because I thought Well, grief comes in many guises, doesn't it? Comes in many guises, or comes from different causes, maybe. That's a better way to put it. Comes from different causes. But how does it feel? And I thought about this when I was making my notes here. How does grief feel? For me, and I think it's a pretty general or generalized feeling, but to me, when I thought about the grief that I've suffered, it's like having a hole inside you. Not a W-H-O-L-E, not whole, but whole. H-O-L-E. A void. It's like feeling part of your body is empty. And for me, it was just a little bit lost as well. In fact, it was quite a lot bit lost. I was lost for quite a long time when I had my grief. But it was a weird grief. But there you go. And think about it now. And I don't want you to go into it, but just, if you have got any grief, and most people have somewhere along the line, what does grief feel like for you? If you were to describe it, not be it, not feel it, but describe it. I know it's sometimes difficult to describe something without actually going there, but you can do that. You can describe how it used to feel. That's a better way of putting it. That's how it used to be. I mean, I can talk about that hole, that void, that really empty, and that really feeling of being lost quite comfortably now. At the time, it was pig and awful. But the thing is, do you have to grieve? Whoa. What, you have to grieve? Well, you see, I made a side note. You see, it's your choice. Your choice if you grieve, or how you grieve, and how long you grieve. Yeah, it's a choice. Because we all choose to behave in a particular way. We choose through our experiences of the past, don't we? We choose through our beliefs and values. Where did they come from? Well, the real core beliefs may have come from your parents or significant people who acted like parents, maybe. Where did they get theirs from? Now, in these core things, I think, it doesn't matter whether we got computers now and we didn't have computers then. Grief is grief. And those beliefs can be at a very deep, unconscious level. But again, we still have to choose whether we want to continue with that belief. And they're so different, aren't they, the beliefs about grieving? I mean, for some people, they feel they have to grieve for years. In fact, they have to feel, maybe they believe they have to grieve forever. So as long as they're alive, and if we're talking about a death of a loved one, as long as we're alive and they're not, we have to grieve. That's not for me, but it may be for some people. It's like giving honor and honoring the departed. And I think we could look at that honor and how we can choose maybe to do it in an honorable way, but differently. Maybe the length of time, we could think about it differently. And that's what we're going to do here, I think. It's more of I'll give you the covertly. It's more, in some ways, reframing to loosen your model of the world in NLP terms. Loosen your model of the world to understand, again, another presupposition, the map is not the territory. It's not rock solid. It's not carved in stone. And we can choose to continue our belief, if that's our choice. But, and I don't like to use a but and we can decide otherwise. You see, my belief is, when it comes to people leaving this mortal earth and this life, you don't have to grieve. Yeah, it's sad. But sometimes if you think of people being in pain, then, we don't want them to feel in pain because we love them. But I don't think, and this is again me personally, I don't think you really have to grieve. But I think it's of In my belief, it's the way you remember. Ooh, I mean, that's pretty radical, isn't it? Is it radical? I don't know. It's radical. In my mind, it's a radical thought, because knowing how I did grieve about one thing and didn't grieve about another, it blew my mind. But when we're talking about departed, people who have left this mortal earth, who have left you on this earth by yourself maybe, I still don't think you need to grieve. And now some people might take offence to that, and I hope you don't, because this is all about compassion. Just to give you some thoughts of how you can maybe see, hear and feel things differently right now. So why do I say you don't really need to grieve? And when I say grieve, I mean that grief is with that hole, that void, that emptiness, that loss. That's the one I'm thinking about. Because that bloody well hurts. It's debilitating. It fucks with your head and everything else around you. And I'm sorry for swearing, but that's what just comes out. But the thing is, you loved that person, yeah? And they loved you. So that's the reason, one of the reasons I say you don't have to grieve, because you were so lucky. They chose you. You know what? Well, okay, think about it. Let's just think about it dispassionately from up here, meta position, looking it down on the world. Could they have chosen somebody else to love? They could, couldn't they? Could they have chosen to not love? Of course they could, couldn't they? They could have chosen to love other people. They could have chosen to go and decided to go somewhere else before they gave you love, before they made that connection, but they didn't. They chose to connect. And this is all about choice. We have these choices, even though they may be unconscious. We're still part of that choosing program, that strategy that we have inside us. Because when we filter through, we see those people in our lives and we love them. I love my sons to bits, absolutely to bits. Did I choose to love them? I guess I must have done. But could I have not loved them? Yeah, I could have. I could have got on with work. I could have put my head down, done other things, and just do my thing. But I didn't. So when you think of those people in your life who may have gone, or the people in your life right now, not to say they're going to go, but we all go someday, but just think now. They could have chosen to love you or not to love you, or chosen to love you in a different way, but they didn't. They chose to love you in the only way they knew how, and it felt brilliant. Did they bring you joy? Did they bring you happiness? Yeah, you bet. When you think really deep down into the core, they blooming well did, didn't they? They really did. And I know sometimes we look back and, we're not, no one is perfect, are they? So they weren't bringing us joy all the time. But, when you think back to those lovely times, my God, anyway, let's talk about in a different way now. You see, because grief can come from different places, can't it? Different places of loss. Relationships could be maybe a job in a career, redundancy, being left out, being asked to move on. That's a loss. Loss of someone in your life doesn't have to be by death. Can be by their choice. And that can really hurt. Losing a job, being told. Well, not being told you're not good enough, but that's how you take it personally, don't we? We take these things personally. And there's a I'm looking at a book called The Four Agreements, and one of those agreements are, don't take things personally. But how difficult is that to do sometimes when someone says, we're letting you go? Yeah, there's a hole in your life. There's a void. Sometimes we can seem lost. What am I going to do? Retirement, when you come to that point of time when you don't want to maybe stop that work, stop those connections. You don't want to sever them. But someone says it's time. You're too old. There's a big loss there, isn't there? A void to be filled. And if we don't fill it, somebody else will. Or we just let those old, horrible feelings fester. We're not going to do that, by the way. We don't do that. We'll find a way. But maybe if you lose your home, you lose some money, maybe what you think is, and this is a little bit ego-driven, social status. You know, all those things. They're all forms of grief, aren't they? And a lot of it can be dealt with what we're going to do today. I think I might look deeper into that form of grief in another podcast, if that's what you want. Just all you have to do is, you know what to do. Just email me, personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Oh, feedback at personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Get it right, Cloughy. You see, my grief, when I had my biggest grief, I lost my grandparents. I can remember crying for my grandparents, especially my granddad. I can remember that time specifically. But it just really affected me just very briefly, I guess, in my life. But then, for my own biggest shift, as it were, with grief, came from, and don't tell anybody, this is just between you and I, a relationship breakdown, and at the same time, a loss of a parent. A double whammy, boom, of losses. Now, this is the weird thing. And this is where I get my part about, do you need to grieve for people who leave us? Because I didn't grieve. I didn't cry with the loss of my parent. It was my mum, by the way. Bless her. Yeah, she's there looking at me. She's probably saying, what the hell are you talking about, Cloughy, now? Just get on with it. And she's probably saying it in slightly more colourful words. But the thing is, I dealt with that because I went back to those thoughts that she chose to be with me all my life. Up until that point in time. She shared with me her values, her beliefs. Some of them I took on, some of them I didn't. Different generations we have to do some things. But those core beliefs of being generous, of being kind. Now, I don't think I'm as kind as I could be, as generous as I could be, but she showed me ways that you could be. And they'll stay with me. But she did choose to be with me, and we had a great time together. And when it was time to go, she chose to go. But the memories I have, and this is part of the process we'll do, is they're all good memories. I'm always there with her. When I think about her, we're together. When I go back through memories, they're only really good memories. The other ones, they disappear. That's what we're going to do. Because I want to honour her choice. That's the thing, not honour, honour the loss, as it were, but I want to honour her choice of saying thank you. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for bringing me into this world. You could have chosen not to get pregnant. I might not have been here. Could have been another, day either side. Could have been someone else. Weird, isn't it? But you didn't. Everything fell in line like that domino rally. The The first one was there. But you see, for me, the relationship hit me so much harder. And because in some ways, it wasn't just that feeling of loss, but it just hit me in every mental, emotionally, physical way. It affected me in everything I did. It stopped me functioning. And when I look back now, that was really weird because it was a horrible black time. I've spoken about it a few times. If any of you have been fortunate to download my little ebook, I don't think it's up on the web anymore. Maybe I'll put it up and trying to narrate it. If you notice on the last podcast, I quickly did like an unedited chapter on my qualities. But you see, when I did that, I had to work on something differently. I had to get my way of understanding and be my own therapist, as it were. But the thing is, this is about you. What about you? You know, I think we can identify what you you lose, what you've lost. Thinking about whether it's a person, could be a pet, remember, because they are, for some people, they're part of the family, aren't they? When we think about pets, is they tend to, that time period is going to come quicker than normal. And the thing is, if you really feel and are feeling grief, and you're thinking now, well, maybe, how long do I really need to grieve? Am I really honoring this person? Because if you think about it, if they loved you, which they did, and because they loved you, would they want you to be in pain? Would they want you to feel hurt, to feel loss, to feel that void of nothingness? Would they? Of course they bloody wouldn't. No bloody way. So that's one thing I'd like you to think of is, they wouldn't like. I mean, if you think, let's just turn it on its head. When you go, and hopefully it's a long time in the future, but when we all go, do you want the people that you love and love you to be sad for days, months, years, for the rest of their life? Do you want them to feel lost? Do you want them to feel the loss of you forever? Do you want them to feel that void that can change them physically, mentally, emotionally, maybe even spiritually? Of course you don't. Well, I hope you don't. Why would we want the best for everyone, don't we? So if you don't want it for them, and you know that they wouldn't want it for you, maybe it's time to actually consider this is the time. This is the time to let things go. Or if anything happens in the future, I'm going to deal with it there and then. I don't need to grieve. I need to celebrate and honor the love that they gave us. But if it is something that you're suffering now, then here's whatever we're going to do today in this podcast will help. But if it's really bad, I'm always going to suggest getting yourself one-to-one help with somebody. And there are so many good therapists around. It doesn't have to be a grief therapist, by the way. It can be if someone is really specialized in grief. But to be honest, grief is a decision, a choice, and it's a set of emotions that you just need to learn from. And this is where we're coming from, how much they loved you. But see, maybe somebody who is a bloody good hypnotherapist, a hypnotist with NLP and timeline therapy. If it's just a little bit and you just need a little bit of confidence back because it's knocked your confidence, your self-esteem. And this is a blatantly open plug, by the way. I've got my Supreme Inner Confidence program. Now that's just a tool that will help you get back into that self-esteem that's truly yours, to get the confidence that you have anyway, just need it to come back. So you can deal with this. Maybe that's just the one little thing you need to help you deal with this, to see it in its right, the right proportion, see it from a different perspective. And the effect of going through that program with the right intention will be awesome, I believe. That's why I did it. And to be fair, the value you'll get from it is way, way more than the actual price you pay. But anyway, I'm biased on that one. But you've also got a little bit, if you just go back to hashtag 237, that's just, I think, the last podcast or the one before that, dispelling gratitude. Because it's got that bit about how you get connection, just finding how to fill that void. And that came from me being in that dark place where I was knocked 7 kinds of shit out of. I'm sorry about swearing, by the way. But I felt this time it's appropriate. But you've also got things like being comfortable. That my very first real podcast, the first one's an introduction. The second one is really the first one, which doesn't really make sense, but it does to me. All about being comfortable. Because if you can feel comfortable, you can then make better choices, maybe. Well, there's no maybe about it. You can, because you're changing your state. If you're in a state of loss, of grief, of hurt, you need to come out of that state so you can deal with that state. You can't deal with the problem from being inside the problem. I think old Albert Einstein said something similar. And you can't read the label from inside the jar. But I'm not quite sure how that one fits in. But you need to, I think I do. That's a good one. Because the resources are all out of that feeling. When you break that feeling, you can find the resources you need. And there's also those hypnosis tracks that I do. It's 50 plus. You'll find something in there which are attached to past episodes. I'm going to give it another blatant plug. How'd you get those, Paul, you're crying? Because I think I might have forgotten. You've only told us every episode. Yeah, it's paulcloughonline.com/podcast. And you get access to all of those hypnosis tracks. They're completely free. And they're downloadable. So you download the one you want. You stick it on whatever you stick it on. You don't need Wi-Fi. And you can just relax. And with the right intention, as I say, the right intention, you can make massive changes in any way you feel, but also with regard to things like grief. It doesn't have to, what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't have to necessarily be grief specific. Because I don't think there is anything specifically grief. If I think about my times and the things that I did as my own therapist to change, a lot of it didn't specifically deal with grief, because grief is just a behavior. It's an emotion. Emotions to me are just behaviors. It's learning from them. And the processes that we use here are getting your unconscious mind to learn, to reframe, to see things differently from a different perspective, to notice that you're not safe when this isn't your unconscious mind protecting you because it feels bloody shit. And that's not a good protective place to be. So get your unconscious mind to learn to change the way you feel comfortable. Be comfortable. And then be more confident, and then have your self-esteem. And then remember, and this is what we're going to do a little bit later, remember those people in a different way. But if we can just think that they chose us to love us and shower that love on us, that's a good place to start. And there's resources everywhere. My son Joseph Clough, has an app with hundreds of hypnosis tracks. I haven't gone the app way because I'm not that big. Well, I'm taller than him, but not that big in the internet. He's been doing it for blooming years. The little youngster that he is, he's been really getting out there and putting stuff out. And you can go there. Just look up Joseph Clough hypnosis. So there are resources there. And you can find them if you have the right intention. That's before we even do what we do now in a moment. And when we do that, I know it will help. But if you can't find a resource, or there's a particular feeling or a particular thing that's affecting you, one final resource you have, well, it's not the final, another resource you have, email me. I know it's a little bit, impersonal. It's feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. But I'm the only one who gets it. You'll get a personal reply from me, and we'll work it from there. Maybe we'll come up with a process specifically designed for you, but will be specifically designed for everybody because it'll just work. So you've got loads of resources, but now you're going to say to me, Cloughy, oh, that's easy. You've just done a great big plug for yourself, plug for everything else. And, you've done a brain hack. No, I haven't done a brain hack. Ooh, no. But here's the thing. What about, let's get into a little bit more specific. So how did I not feel that grief when I lost people? I lost two of my great mates, and they were my dogs. One dog called Taz, followed by another dog called Howie. They were my best mates. You've heard me speak of Howie, not so much Taz. Taz followed me. I couldn't, my heartbeat was like his heartbeat. He followed me wherever I went. If I got in the car, he's in the car. If I was working in the office, he was in the office. When I worked with clients doing hypnosis, he was by their feet. He came into the clinic. That was it. He was me, he was them. That was it. I cried when he died, just for a little bit. But then I did what we're doing now, and it changed. Howie was the same. He was a little bit more, he just had a different personality. But we was together through thick and thin. He came through with me in my darkest time. He was another best friend. You can have so many different soulmates as they are, I guess. And again, I cried just for a moment when it's weird that I cried for those and not my mum, but it doesn't matter because I changed the thoughts, my memories of those closest to me, so I can just remember them with fondness. Am I tearing up when I talk about Howie and Taz? Absolutely not, because they were my best mates, and I'm so proud that they chose me to be my best mates and what they did for me. So, as I said, depending on the level of pain that you have, the level of hurt, if it's deep and hurtful, do get your one-to-one. It can be so quick. Worthwhile, the investment. It really is so much worthwhile to move on quicker. But you could do this as well, because when you do this as well, then you're adding like strength to the foundations of that change. Because anything that can, as I say, loosen the model of the world, can set you up in a different way to realize you change your map of what's possible. So I think what we're going to talk about will really help. Okay, so let's go back. See, I wasn't joking about those people. They chose you. They chose you. So let's just think about it for a moment. They were wonderful, weren't they? They were really, did you respect them? You did, didn't you? Their best bits. Because I only want to think about the best bits. Because everyone has a little bit of other stuff, but we just think about the best bits, the things that we really respect, we really love. They loved us, didn't they? They loved us in their way. And just for a moment, maybe you can just connect to that wonder, to that love. Just a feeling of love. Just connect to that feeling of being grateful that they chose you. Just for a moment. You see, when you just can get grateful, just feeling, I'm so grateful that you chose me. That was, just giving thanks. Because when you get that real feeling of gratitude, as we know, you get that special connection. So the deeper you go into that feeling of being grateful that they chose you to give with you, to share with you the wonderful love from them. Just allow that gratitude to get so strong. In fact, if you want to and you're not driving, you can just close your eyes, and as you just feel that gratitude getting stronger and stronger, you may want to anchor it, just getting that unique touch. Some people do finger and thumb. I like to do different fingers because finger and thumb everyone does. But a unique touch, and as you really feel that gratitude, getting more and more, and as you get that gratitude, you get that special connection with them, the connection that you chose to accept. Squeeze that finger and thumb together, and maybe just have a word that just I don't know, just gets that feeling of gratitude, that connection. That's the right word for you. It'll come unconsciously, it'll come right now. And as you say that word, squeeze that finger and thumb together. And as you feel that gratitude getting stronger, more intense, say that word and squeeze that finger and thumb together. Because in the future, you can do this as many times as you like. Just feel that feeling, get it more and more intense. And as you feel the intensity of that gratitude and connection, because that's good, isn't it? The good feeling of gratitude, being able to have been connected and still connected, that special way. Anchor it, because when you fire off that anchor again in the future, just by squeezing that finger and thumb together, you'll feel this again. So you can do this as many times as you like, but just as you feel that intensity getting stronger and stronger, just finger and thumb together, gently squeeze, and boom, say that word. There you go. Now, we can always come back to that, remember. In fact, we're going to use that in a moment. But it's really, anchoring is such a wonderful thing to do. It's an I guess it's an NLP have termed it anchoring anyway. It's like Pavlov's dog, but this is so much more specific now to gratitude and connection. Because gratitude gives you connection. And when you're thinking of that person and you feel grateful and you get that connection, boom, we're doing something that is now going to fill that void. And I want to get rid of that hollow, lost, void, empty feeling. And by the way, these are my terms, remember? Because I don't know what you feel, but that's how I felt. And you notice my term now. It's in a past tense. This is how I felt. Hollow, lost, void, empty. I don't feel it anymore. And that's because we did, or what I did was this. And I did that other stuff, my qualities and things like that. But here we go. And it will be good if you close your eyes. But again, be warned. I'm a therapist, but you're not your therapist. And only you can choose whether it's the right thing to do. And obviously, if it's safe to do so. So obviously not responsible for doing anything, driving, things like that. If you're driving, you can either just turn this off or just have it, well, probably just turn it off and come back. Come back when you're in a safe environment. But if you're okay, I want you to close your eyes. And, as I did, I used to have, and you may have them still now, have memories which are not so nice. I can remember my mum being ill. That wasn't a nice thing to remember. At that time, I don't have that picture in my mind now, and I'll show you how to get rid of it. But at that time, when I did have that picture in my mind, and I changed it because it's not resourceful. It's not that connection I want, and she would not want it for me. So just pick one though, and don't pick the 10 out of 10. Please pick a 5 out of 10, because this is something that you learn. And then we get your unconscious mind to generalize it into those other ones, okay? We don't have to go to the 10 out of 10s. That's the way we do it here. It's the way I do work with my clients. We train our unconscious mind to do things on a specific, but not a 10 out of 10 specific, and then ask your unconscious mind to generalize it through all of those. And it works, okay? So as you bring to mind that memory, I'm going to guess you're in the memory now. So step out of it, because you can. Just step out of it now and push that memory over there so you can see the both of you in that memory. And you can notice just by doing that, pushing that memory away and seeing the both of you, you and that person, in that not so good time. you'll notice that this feeling subsides already because you're disconnected. You are dissociated. And now you can begin to shrink it. Just in your mind, imagine you could just make that picture smaller. And the way to make it smaller is to move it further away. And as it gets smaller and further away, it gets darker and darker and smaller and further away. Now for me, I pushed those pictures so they got so small. They were that far, I couldn't see them. They were no bigger than a postage stamp. In fact, a lot of them were even smaller. So I just made sure I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and then locked it in place. And all you have to do is lock it in place. And then come back to me. And then maybe pick another one, another 5 out of 10. I tended to have quite a few. And I didn't do them all though. I just did 2 or 3. So you might want to repeat this on the next time, but just pick another one. And as you pick that memory, step out of it. I know you're in it, so just step out of it. And as you step out of it, you're seeing yourself over there. It might be a movie. It could be a still. If it's a movie, make it a still. Because now you're seeing it dissociated and a still. It takes all the energy, negative energy from it. Being dissociated and make it a still. And then move it further away. Further away and shrink it. Because it gets smaller. Things in the distance get smaller. They get darker. Sometimes they go and disappear right now. And just, if you wanted to, you could continue. You could just stop and pause this recording or this episode and just do it another couple of times to different one. And just keep pushing them in and keep it at 5 out of 10s. And just keep pushing them further away and maybe they'll just disappear or lock in place. No bigger than a postage stamp. You can make it no bigger than the head of a pin. You know it's there. It was in the past. It used to hurt. Now. And just rinse and repeat. And any time. Because they do. I did this work and it worked this way and worked and it did work so well. But then all of a sudden, sometimes I get blindsided by another little memory that I hadn't thought of. And I'd very quickly step out, push it further away, get it darker, smaller, disappear. But as you do that, just say to your unconscious mind, let's just generalize that. I want you, my unconscious mind, to go through all similar memories, with this negative feeling, the ones that chance are good. Your unconscious mind knows when you say that. And I want you, the unconscious mind, to shrink all of those down. To make them into stills, they're movies. Getting smaller and smaller, darker and darker. Because you can always retrieve them if you want to. I don't know why you would, but the opportunity's there. Because your unconscious mind can just shrink them all down, generalize everything like that. So you know that they happened in the past, but they're no longer in your face, and you're no longer in the memory. You are dissociated, and your unconscious mind can go whew, and realize that by doing this, you feel better, you feel safer, you feel more protected, and you can feel there's now permission to do the next step, and that's going to be the good memories. Now, just before we go to the good memories, you can open your eyes, by the way, for this next bit, and then we'll close them again, because I want to explain why we get that hollow, lost, empty, void feeling. Yeah? Because what happens is, and it might not be 100% for everybody, but it blooming well is. But the reason you feel that way is because when you think of a good memory, you tend to have it as a still. It's probably black and white, or maybe a little bit color. And you're seeing that person over there. You're actually seeing it in the way that we've just taken away the negative feeling. So what you've done is you've created a negative feeling because you're not there. You're not associated into those good times. You're seeing those good times over there. You're not in them. And therefore you're not connected. You feel there's a void. They feel that, it's empty. And what I want you to do is be able to feel that feeling again. The good memories. So when you think of that person, that automatically triggers instantaneously that feeling of gratitude, that feeling of being connected, but also brings those memories to life. And you're in them. So here we go. I want you just to pick one. You have to do one at a time. Because once you do a couple of one at a times, then it will generalize just like that other one to make them all the same, all the good ones the same. So here's the thing. I want you to pick one wonderful memory, and it could be from any time. Doesn't have to be the last one. It could be from any time. Now, here's the thing. Do you want to make it a 5 out of 10? Or do you want to make it bigger and better? So pick a good one. Pick a bloody good memory. Okay? Close your eyes. And as you pick that memory, have it come to mind. And you'll probably see it over there. Initially, make it into a wonderful, colourful movie. So you see that person over there. Yeah, there's a little bit of lost feeling. But now, as you see that movie of that wonderful memory, make it bigger, brighter, all the sounds. And now imagine jumping into it. Be there again. See what you saw. Hear what you heard. And feel that wonderful feeling of being there again. And as you feel that feeling, remember that anchor? Squeeze that finger and thumb together. Say that word. Feel that connection and add it to this wonderful feeling. You are now associated. You can make it even bigger and brighter while you're in here. You can hug them, feel them. Feel that love. Thank them in your mind. You're back there again and making this picture of a memory into a movie, and you're back in it. Feel it. You are associated. You are back with them. It's as if they're right here with you now, because they are. They're in you, firing off those synaptic gaps. Those neural pathways are now rewiring and firing together. Make it bigger, brighter. Keep firing off that anchor. And as you do that, you can just let that go into every part of you. And now, as you let that one go, think of another one. Let's get a better one. Can you think of a better one? Now you know the process. Let's be really brave and find the bloody best one. Or, I don't know, there's not just a best one, but there's a million best ones. But pick a really good one. Pick a 12 out of 10. And as you close, if your eyes aren't closed, close them again. See that movie over there. Make it bigger, brighter. Hear the 5 surround sounds. And here's a wonderful way of doing it. Wrap it all around you, over your head, round the sides, up the back, everything. And be inside that memory now. It is big, it is bright. You are there again. You're with that person, seeing what you saw, hearing what you heard, feeling the feelings of right now. And as you feel all of that, it's enveloping around you and in you. Finger and thumb together, fire that anchor. And as you fire that anchor, boom, you're there again. Now, as you do that, allow it to just fade, but be there in the multiverse universe and inside you. And what I want to suggest is you pause, you rewind this episode back to the first good memory and do another couple. And when you've done that, stop it, rewind it and do another couple. And as you do all of that, just ask your unconscious mind this or something better. And I want you, the unconscious mind, as you go through this process with them, to notice how wonderful they feel, to notice how safe they feel, to notice how connected they feel, to notice how grateful they feel, and notice how much better this feeling is, and generalize it. Go through all the memories, because they won't remember them all consciously, but go through all your memories and all the like memories, all these wonderful good memories, the ones that have good feelings, make them bigger, brighter. Get the feelings more and more intense. So at any time when they think of that person, they feel it again. They can remember being there in the memory again. They could describe it because I'm here. So at any time they think of that person, instantaneously, they can be in that memory again, feeling that feeling, hearing what they heard, seeing what they saw. Everything. And then you can surprise them with that feeling of connection whenever you choose. Just surprise them, their conscious mind, by suddenly feeling so connected, so wonderful. And to think of that person in such a wonderful way. Hey. So there you go. I've just noticed a time. Well, I have been prattling on for, this is going to be some podcast. But I hope it's made a difference to you. I hope if you do the process, because you can't just listen. I know when I talk, I'm talking to the both of you, and you'll probably go through that, and you'll go through it because of the way I'm using some of my words. But, and here is the but, that's all for nothing if you don't consciously set your intention and do this work. This is what master is about. Doing the work to become a master. What would it be like to become a master of feeling good? Bloody hell. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? What would it be like being a master of remembering good times and feeling bloody awesome? It's worth the effort. This is not an intellectual thing. Far from it. You really just set your intention. I'm going to do this because I'm going to feel good. And it takes something like 10, 15 minutes. That's all. You can do it as many times as you like, but it doesn't take long. And then you'll know when you do this and you think about what I was talking about right at the very beginning of this. It's your choice of how long. I don't care if you grieve for years in the way that you feel bloody awesome about it and your connection is there because you're not really grieving. You're celebrating. Remember, if you can find that copy of my book, it doesn't have to be that way. There's stuff in there that might help you as well. But this little process, as simple as it is, and in simplicity there is genius. It doesn't have to be complicated. Far from it. The more complicated it is, the worse it gets. This is so simple. And it'll last as long as you need it to. If you want it to be there forever, boom, just say, I'm having it forever. Because it will. And if you have to come back, make a note which podcast this number is, and it's here for you. I mean, all you have to do is remember, not a brain hack for grief. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it? So, the one thing that I just wanted to pass on to you, one more thing. Why is this important for you? I thought about this. Why would it be important? And I just came up with, because you can let it go now. If you're suffering, you can let it go now. Right now, just let it go and feel awesome. Because it's your choice. And we all have choices. So this wasn't a brain hack. This was a process of feeling awesome and honoring those people that you love and showed you love. I hope you enjoyed that. Please do send me an email of what you thought, what you felt. If there's critique in there, positive or negative, just let me know, please. I'd love to learn. You know the email address, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Remember those programs, paulcloughonline.com. They're all on the front page. There's lots of things you could choose from, but you've also got that course, Supreme Inner Confidence. Brilliant hypnosis tracks in there. You're getting 6 and they're for the price. I can't believe I'm just doing it because I want to share it with you. And please do share this episode. If you know anybody who is suffering from grief, loss of any kind, remember this will work for things like relationships, jobs, redundancy, retirement, loss of a house, loss of a pet, loss of a loved one. May not be the whole key, but it's a blooming good start. And it may just be the one thing that makes a difference. So I think it'll be good if we just shared this with everybody, because you never know, at one time they go, I don't feel so good. Oh, I remember something about not a brain hack for grief. Oh yeah, I remember that. Good old Clough is a star. People don't always say that. They say something else. Have more fun than you can stand. And please share this, as I say. Share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Share it to every friend you can think of. And even the people you don't know. Share it with people you don't know. That's a good thing to do. That's a good start. And as I say, let me know how you feel. Let me know your thoughts. And if there's anywhere else you go. Grief is a massive subject, and I hope I've brought it down into a way that we don't have to get choked up and we deal with things, because there's always a good solution, a gentle solution, a comfortable solution. We don't have to go there, as you just noticed now. Not to those 10 out of 10s, only when they're good. All right then. Until the next time, this is your friend, my friend, Paul Clough. Personal Development Unplugged. Bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.